Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi has declared a state of emergency in 3 cities. The declaration follows clashes between protesters and security forces across the nation.
The trouble there began back in February last year when 74 people died during rioting between fans of rival football teams, Cairo and Port Said. Well, on Saturday, a Cairo court sentenced 21 Port Said residents to death over those riots. Well, the sentences sparked fresh protests in which 33 people died. On Sunday, a mass funeral was being held for those victims. On the same day, demonstrations were held where a further 7 people were killed.
Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi declares a state of emergency in 3 cities along the Suez Canal. In a televised address, Morsi ordered a nightly curfew in Port Said, Ismailia and Suez starting on Monday evening. Cairo is enduring its 4th day of clashes on the streets. Protesters and police confronted each other near Tahrir Square, the cradle of the 2011 uprising. Tear gas was fired. Demonstrators responded by throwing rocks. They're angry at what they see as a power grab by orthodox Muslim politicians.
Further south, clashes also rocked the capital, Cairo, for a 4th day. Protesters threw stones and police responded with tear gas as Egypt marked the anniversary of the uprising that toppled Hosni Mubarak 2 years ago. Critics accused President Morsi of being as authoritarian as the man he replaced. During his Sunday address, he called a meeting with major opposition figures in a bid to calm the unrest.
The country's powerful military is back on the streets guarding government buildings recently attacked by protesters, and the military wants more power. Today, the military requested the right to arrest civilians who break the law, this general said. 2 years ago, Egypt's streets were full of optimism and hope as a united people toppled a dictator. Today, stifling tear gas and plumes of smoke fill the air of a divided country. Egypt's police are struggling to cope with the protesters. They too have suffered losses and are angry. When the country's interior minister came today to pay his respects to fallen policemen, he was heckled by grieving colleagues and their families. And as it has for the past 3 days, nightfall brought more violence. Tonight, outside a luxury 5-star Cairo hotel. With a predictable-like precision, police charged the crowd, firing tear gas. But minutes later, protesters returned, lobbing stones and setting fires to block roads. There are few words President Morsi can say to calm these protesters. This man tells me the president must resign and a new constitution must be written. Another says only protests work with a regime that kills its people.
The soldiers largely replacing the police on the streets. But their commanders made clear they did not have the power to carry out all the police functions.
We have requested the right to arrest citizens who break the law.
The power of arrest has now been given to the military, and the declaration of a state of emergency essentially means a return to military law in 3 defined areas. This time, though, under civilian supervision. The army remains under the effective control of the National Defense Council, a body created in terms of the new constitution that's headed by President Morsi and which includes parliamentary representatives along with senior government ministers and military commanders.
According to the president, the emergency rule and the curfews will last for 30 days. Police will have extended powers. The people will not have as many rights. They probably won't be able to protest as freely, if at all. Remember, for more than 4 decades, Egyptians lived under emergency rule. It's something that they despised. This time, the curfew and the emergency rule is limited to only 3 cities. The question now, how will Egyptians who've lost their fear to protest respond? Will they heed the president's call? Or will things escalate? We're going to find out in the coming days.